everyone! In today's video, I want to show you how to edit a portrait from beginning to end using just one software. So today's video is sponsored by Skylum, and I'm going to be showing you how to color process your images and do retouching with just Luminar Neo. Also, we have Olive keeping us company here. Even when I have the door open, she always loves sitting there to keep me company while I'm editing. So this is a photo that we'll be editing today, and the aim of today's edit is to create some beautiful colors for our portrait, and I want it to be slightly vibrant to bring out that jungle green look that we have going on, and I also want to retain that moody look that we have from the original photo. So we're going to start off by heading to the Develop tab, and I'm also really excited to say that I have some Luminar presets for you guys today. We'll take a look at them a little bit later on, because for this first photo, I just want to show you how to edit it from scratch. So I want to start off by bringing up the exposure. I did shoot this image quite underexposed because we have light coming in from the right side, so I didn't want any of her skin or her shoulder to be overexposed. I'm also going to bring down the highlights just to balance out that bright side of her face, and also bring up the shadows just to bring out that detail in the background. Next, we're going to head into color, and I'm going to increase the temperature to add some warmth to our photo, and I'm also going to increase the tint to add some pinks, as this is going to give us a really nice base to work with when it comes to skin tones. Next, we're going to head into our curves panel, and this is where we're going to start to add some personal style to the photo. So like I said, I want this to be quite a moody edit, so I'm going to start by raising our black point up, and then creating another point in the shadows and dragging that down to create a really nice tone for the darkest parts of our image. So our portrait now is looking a little underexposed, so I'm going to select here in the midtones and bring that up to add some light back into her face. And then I'm going to select here in the highlights and just bring it down a little bit, so we have that nice balance again in the brightest parts of her face. I'm really happy with what the tones are looking like in the photo, so now I want to get started on working on some color. So I'm going to start off by going to the blue channel in our curves tool, and I'm going to create a very similar kind of curve that we did for our tone curve, where I increased the blue shadows in the photo, and then I'm just going to bring them down to add some warmth into the image. So it's going to start looking a little bit too yellowish green on her skin tone. So to counter that, I'm going to put a point here in the highlights and bring that up, which is going to cool down her skin tones. And then what I like to do once I have those base points down is just move them around slightly until I'm happy with what the image is looking like. Something that I've started doing recently, which I really love for close-up portraits, is going to the green channel, and I like to make a point around here, around the shadow midpoint kind of area, and I just bring it down very slightly by just a couple of pixels, and it adds a really nice rosy warm tone to the colors, and I think that suits skin tones really nicely. Next, we're going to head into color, because I want to make some finer adjustments to some of the colors that we have in our image. So I'm going to open up HSL, and we will start with hue. So I really want the leaves in the background to be quite a vibrant, saturated green. So I'm going to bring the yellows up a little, and the same with the green slider here. And just to help with the skin tones a little bit, I'm also going to decrease the orange hue and the red hue a little bit as well. Next, we're going to head into saturation. So here I'm going to increase the yellow and green saturation to, again, bring out those leaves in the background. I also want to decrease the orange and red saturation, because I don't want her skin to look too vibrant or bright in the photo. And finally, we're going to go into luminance, which adjusts the brightness of the colors in your photos. So if I were to make the greens brighter or darker, you can see them stand out. So I'm going to increase the green luminance and the yellow luminance as well. And I think I might bring down the orange luminance just to make it look a little darker in the photo. So here is a before and after of our color adjustments so far. And actually looking at the before and after, I want to go back into saturation and just increase the orange saturation a little bit. It was looking a bit too desaturated. And I always recommend looking at the before and afters every time you finish an edit, because it helps you see if you've maybe gone too far or maybe not enough. And I feel like it really helps with the editing process. Next, we're going to head into toning, where you can add a solid color to the highlights and the shadows of your photos. And I feel like toning is a really great way to add your personal style to your photo editing. So I want to start with the shadows, and I'm going to increase the amount and the saturation very high so it looks ridiculous while we're changing the hue, but this makes it really easy to see what adjustments you're making. So I really like what this kind of yellow-green looks like in the shadows. So once you've selected which color you want to go with, then you just decrease the saturation until it blends into the photo. So next we're going to go into the highlights, and again, increase the saturation. And for the highlights, when it comes to portraits, I usually like picking portrait-y colors, so like a nice yellow, pink, red, or orange. So for this photo, I'm going to go with an orange color for the hue and increase the saturation quite high so you can really see those adjustments. The next thing I want to jump into is some skin retouching. So we're going to head to the portrait skin tab here and increase the amount of the retouching that we have. I usually like to have the amount around the 30s or 40s for the skin AI. I feel like that's a nice amount that it does something that you can see, but it's still quite natural and subtle as well. So I'm going to leave it around here. And something that I'm also really excited about now is that skin AI now affects all the skin that you can see in the photo, not just the face, which is really awesome. We do also have masking tools with all the tools that we have in Luminar Neo as well. So I'm just going to get out of that and go back to skin and select masking, brush, and paint. So for example, I want a little bit more retouching on her hand compared to the rest of her skin. So I'm going to brush over her hand area here. And then go back to our adjustments and increase the amount. So her hands will have some extra skin AI compared to the rest of like her face and her shoulders. So if we zoom into 100% in our portrait, you can see that we've got a few blemishes here on the face. So what I like to do to retouch that is I use the erase tool. So when you open that up, you've got a brush size. I like to change it with the square bracket shortcut on my keyboard. And I just select the blemish and select erase. And what I like about this tool is that you can do as many or as little as you want. I kind of do them in little sections to make sure I'm happy with what they're looking like. So I'm going to go ahead and speed that up because it's quite straightforward what to do. So you can watch me get rid of the rest. So a couple of other things that I want to do, like the finishing touches on this photo that I'm noticing, is that she's got a little bit of a tan line here on her chest. So we're going to head into develop and select masking, brush, and paint. And I'm just going to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. And for this one, I actually want to decrease the strength of the brush as well, just so the edit doesn't look too out of place. So I'm just going to roughly brush over that tan line there and then zoom back out, head to adjustments, and with our tonal curve, I'm going to decrease the exposure to kind of blend out that tan line a little bit better. So I'm going to decrease here in the highlights as well. So that's the before and after. I think that looks pretty good. Now it's not as eye-catching, it just like blends into the rest of the photo. And I want to do the same thing again, just with this eye bag here because of the lighting, and I think her hair kind of caused a little shadow under her eyes. I'm going to use a brush with a very, very low strength so it blends into the image nicely. Then we're going to go back to adjustments, and here in our tone curve, I'm going to bring the shadows up just to blend out that shadowy bit under her eye into the rest of her skin. And here is what it looks like before and after. So while we're doing that, you may have noticed that when you open develop, which we used right at the beginning to edit our photo with, all the edits that we did before are pretty much gone. So where you can actually find them is under the edits tab here, and this has the history of everything we've done to our photo. So if you want to go back right to the first step and you're like, oh, I actually want to increase the highlights a little bit because I went a bit overboard at the beginning, you can do that, which is really nice to have all of these steps. The other thing with Luminar Neo, and this came out with the latest update, is that we have layers to work with as well. So if you add a layer here, you've got a bunch of stock images that you can start working with. I really like the film scratches that we have here. So I'm going to select this one, and it's going to apply the film scratches to the photo. You can flip them around if you want. I'm going to decrease the opacity so it blends into the photo nicely. And I also really like that you can then use all the tools that we were just using to edit that texture as well. So I'm going to increase the exposure. And I also want to bring the white point of our blue curve down just to make the texture a little bit more yellow, as I feel like that color will suit this photo a lot more than just white scratches. So here we have our final image. So here is the before and here is the after. Okay, so I also want to show you the new LUTs that I've been working on, so you can use them as presets in Luminar Neo and Luminar AI. It's why I decided to use LUTs, because they are cross-compatible depending on what software you're using. So I want to quickly edit this photo using one of my LUTs as well. So let's head into mood, and here you can choose a LUT, and I've created a pack of 10 of my favorite Lightroom presets that I've re-edited to work really well as LUTs. So for this photo, I really want to use the Amalfi LUT because that is my favorite one to use. And I'm going to increase the amount nice and high, so we've really got a lot of that color coming through in the photo. And I also want to increase the saturation as well. So then I want to head into develop and increase the temperature of this photo and the tint as well to make it nice and pink. Okay, and then I'm going to hide develop and bring it back up again and go to masking and select a linear gradient. So here I want to just go over the grass area because I feel like it looks really bright in the photo compared to the background, which is really dark. Then I'm going to head back to adjustments and I want to decrease the exposure of the grass. So that'll just help the photo look more balanced out overall, and I really like what that looks like. So if you want to do quicker editing, you don't want to go through all those steps that we just went through with the other photo individually, you can use my LUTs to help you out, have a more consistent color styling, and also speed up your workflow as well. So this is the before and after with the Amalfi LUT. And I have one more photo that I want to share with you all today, and I want to apply all the LUTs that I have in my 10 pack just so you can see what they all look like on the same photo. So I'm going to increase the amount to 100 so you can see the full effect of the LUT. The first one we have is Amalfi. Then we also have disposable film. We have Gdańsk for more natural colors. We have Ghosts, which is a very low contrast black and white LUT. Next we have Hazel, which is a little more desaturated. We also have Lotus. We have the Muse LUT, which is a very blue purpley color, which I really, really love. Then we also have New York, and we have Paris, which is my second black and white LUT, and this one's a more high contrast black and white. And finally, we have Summer Haze. So with each of these LUTs that you apply, I really like that you have an amount slider. So if you don't want it to be the full strength, you can bring it down and have more of a subtle look or go a little bit halfway. You can also adjust the contrast if you want it to be a bit more punchy, and the saturation too. So I really, really hope you enjoy these LUTs that I've created. I know some of you have been asking for them for a while, and if you want to find them, I'll leave them linked down in the description, and I'll also have a link for Luminar Neo in the description as well. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I make new videos every single week, so I will see you all next time. Bye!